Hello and welcome to yet another video from Bloomberg Capital. My name is Patrick Morris. I'm a trader here at Bloomberg Capital, and today we wanted to spice things up with a different kind of video. This video is more rooted towards new users who want to tap into the cryptocurrencies. Maybe it's their first investment, and today we want to highlight a couple of things that you need to take care of or you need to be aware of to do well in the crypto markets. Please do understand that all of this information is not financial advice. This is simply research that we conducted to help you and aid you for your own crypto investment journey. So just take it as additional information for your own decision making. I'm pretty sure you will be able to do well-informed decisions by yourself after watching this content. So what are we going to talk about here? We're going to talk about how you invest into cryptos and therefore how you understand them. Where are the capital flows in cryptocurrencies actually going? Would it be wise to simply invest into Bitcoin? When do you venture out into altcoins? Stuff like that. And without any more rambling from my side, let's get into the video. So before we invest into any cryptocurrency, we need to understand the cycle. Is it a good time to buy or is it a good time to sell? That's the million-dollar question over here. And we at Bloomberg think that we have a fairly good idea on when these timing points are. So what is a good time? So let's start with the boom and bust cycle in the cryptocurrencies. There have been 4 booms and there have been 4 busts as well. So here was the first one. This was from 2009 until 2012. Then we had another cycle from 2015 to 2016, and another one from 2017 to 2018. And then the most famous one, I think, where you probably got aware of the cryptos, was from 2020 to 2021. And now we are also in our 4th boom. What is the drawdown out of these cycles? So when the music stops, you don't want to be involved in market because you can get a drawdown of up to 94% in Bitcoin alone. So altcoins could go to zero, for instance. And I was very well invested into altcoins when 2021 happened. I made the biggest gains of my life, but I also saw a lot of altcoins simply vanish from one day to another. Luna is a really good example here. You might want to research what happened with Luna and how quick these things actually can go. So you need to be aware of how much drawdown you can occur. So currently the drawdowns are getting less, but they are still at approximately 80%. And now let's take a step back and try to understand where we are in the cycle. Like, is there any information on how I can understand where in the cycle we are? And for this, we will take the presidential cycle. Okay, so this has to do with the US election. There is a very distinct cycle here, which goes from 54 months. So the length is approximately 1,636 days. It's basically a whole election period. So you get elected, then you rule, and then you either get re-elected or not, and this is this whole cycle. Approximately, it's about 54 months, and I cannot tell you how this actually occurs, why the things happen the way they do. This is a mystery for us. We simply know that price goes up for a rough period, and it goes down for another period. Approximately, to our calculations, 68% of the time out of those 54 months, we go up, and 32% of the times we tend to go down. So if we do calculate this, this comes down to approximately 37 months of upside and approximately 17 months of downside. Okay, and let's go through the chart so I can illustrate it a little bit more and show you. So here, Bitcoin wasn't really well known. It was only a couple of computer people who knew about it, who were also already starting to mine about it. But the general public, I still remember, got aware of it when it came into the news for the first time. This was at the all-time high around 2011. And then you actually got invested into it around 2012. Like the first people I know were buying into Bitcoin around here. And from there, if we take this as a whole cycle, we get roughly 37 months of upside. Okay, so 37 and then 17 months of downside. This wouldn't have been true here in the first cycle. It's just 39 months measured from this low where most people got involved. So the first cycle, I would say, yeah, it kind of obeys this rule, but also deviates from the lows. But then this becomes really interesting because from the low from here to the upside, we are 35 months of up. So we only saw upside for 35 months straight. Then came the bear market, which was around 12 months in length. But now you would say, wait a minute, Patrick, you told me that the drawdown was 17 months, but here it's roughly 12 months. How come? Well, we reached a price low in 12 months of time, but it took us yet another 6 months until we saw significant upside in terms of the Bitcoin price. So essentially, it was 17 months until you saw new upside price action. So we still obey this model roughly. Okay, it's just, like I said, it's not a rule, it's a model. All models are wrong, but some of them are useful, and this is what I find very useful about it. So after that, from the low, if we go up, we again have 35 months of upside, which is very interesting again. And from there, we roughly trend down for another 12 months and go sideways until we see significant movement to the upside. It was about 3 months, not 6 months, but 3 months. So we roughly obey the 54-month cycle. So where are we now in the current cycle? So if we measure off the low, which happened around November 2022, we are currently on month 26. So there is roughly 9 months to go where we will see a top. Now here's a warning from me. Since Bitcoin is much more mainstream right now, it is possible that the Bitcoin cycle becomes left translated. So it wouldn't surprise me if we topped 2 months earlier. Okay, so that can happen. So maybe on month 33 we form a top. So we need to be really careful here. And of course, the bear market, the shorter the upside goes, the longer the downside will be. So you need to be on your toes when or if this actually happens. So if this plays out, we would expect significant drawdowns from there. Okay, since you know about the Bitcoin cycle, we can move on to the next slide, which is understanding the capital flow. So when is a good time to buy altcoins? Would you buy Ethereum? Like, how would you structure your investing in order to take away the biggest amount of gains? So what we know and what our research says is that you have 4 phases. And the first phase becomes apparent when Bitcoin starts its significant move to the upside. It usually forms a trend channel, as you can see right here. And let me go to the live chart and also show you the trend channel right there. 1 second. There we go. And this is when the cycle for Bitcoin really starts. The cycle then turns into phase 2 whenever you leave this channel. Okay, when you leave this channel, you know that phase 2 has started, and you can see that phase 2 doesn't really last that long, right? Here we are not in phase 2, but I could also like draw a channel right here. So from the low, we draw this channel and we get this type of price action where volatility is quite low, but volatility really increases once we leave this channel, which again puts us into phase 2. So you might ask, what is phase 2 and what does this phase 1 actually mean? Well, in phase 1, most of the capital is going towards Bitcoin and not a lot of capital goes into altcoins. So altcoins are against Bitcoin fairly sideways, so they might keep up in US dollar terms, but the better investment is still Bitcoin, because Bitcoin outperforms if you adjust it for the risk you actually take, because altcoins are much more volatile. And this is generalizing here. There's, of course, cryptocurrencies that might outperform Bitcoin early on, but we're now generally speaking, right? Bitcoin usually outperforms and the rest of the cryptocurrencies go sideways or down even. Whenever we leave the channel, Ethereum, generally speaking, starts to outperform Bitcoin. So how does that look? Well, I have brought you another chart. This is the cycle from 2021. We left the channel around here and you can see it was lower than Bitcoin here, but around here, Ethereum got ahead of Bitcoin, had a minor correction. Well, this was still 50%, so don't get fooled about this. And then Ethereum really outperformed against Bitcoin, and Bitcoin was left in the dust, if you will. So what happens afterwards? Once Ethereum has outperformed, this is when the cycle becomes really rampant, really crazy. A lot of people get attention towards the cryptos and they want to make the big gains. So what usually happens is that capital flows out of Ethereum and goes to the top 20 cryptocurrencies. This might be your Cardano, this might be your Litecoin, this might be Solana, or your other random coin that has some kind of fundamentals that sound nice on paper. Then we have the shortest phase. This lasts around 2 months. This is when capital flows out of the top 20 and goes into the top 150 coins, and your memes and JPEGs blow up, literally speaking. This is when you know that the cycle is coming to an end, because the cycle becomes much quicker. Bitcoin only goes sideways, Ethereum starts to underperform a little bit, it starts ranging, and you see your dog coin and everything else go crazy. I'm very well aware that this is currently happening as well, but it's not happening at the same extent as it was in the last cycle. So I would say we're still at the beginnings of this meme coin mania that everyone is more or less expecting. And then, what are the exchanges? How can you invest into Bitcoin? Well, there's the ETF. So if you have large amount of funds, I wouldn't really put a lot of money onto crypto exchanges, because what we learned from 2021 was that any exchange can simply blow up. For instance, FTX wasn't simply there anymore, and all of the funds that people had stored, even in the stable coins, they were gone. So ETFs might be a little bit safe depending on your perception of being safe, right? Banks are also not really safe. But yeah, this is something that everyone needs to decide. You can also store the cryptos on a ledger. This is what I would also recommend. Store your keys. If it's not your keys, it's not your crypto, essentially. And there's also a couple of funds in Europe. For instance, CoinShares has the first exchange traded node where you can invest into the top 10 cryptos simultaneously through a fund. And this is how I would recommend it. And of course, the last point, use good forecasts. If you have a large allocation of your capital into cryptocurrencies, you want to pony up the little extra buck and pay for good forecasts from people who know what they are doing, who are managing their risk constantly. And this is something I can only recommend, because imagine you make a 10x and you don't realize the gains because nobody told you that the cycle would be over. And you need some people that also tell you that you don't want to hear at the moment, so you can make a better educated guess on when the time is coming where you go for the hills. Most of the people who make a lot of gains actually do not realize their gains, because they are not simply aware when the cycle is over, and you need a good service that actually provides you with that very valuable information. So, and this is where I would lead to ourselves. We do have a lot of crypto analysis on our service. You can basically ask for any cryptocurrencies on our instant messaging server, and there you will be getting quality analysis at any time. We have a schedule where we analyze 20 cryptocurrencies on the daily, and you get 3 daily updates on Bitcoin and Ethereum on our premium plan. So you are well informed every day, 365 days of the year. And we have also weekly wrap-up videos. If you don't like to read a lot, this is where we also summarize a lot of the things. And if the market gets very volatile, you will be the first one to receive exclusive content right there. So head to our website, check us out, and hopefully we see you on our server, where you can also talk to us and have a chat with us. Thanks for your attention. I'm Patrick here with Bloombridge Capital. Until next time.